Hello and welcome to today's group Q&A call. It is morning time here in Arizona and just about midday on the East Coast. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to come in and get settled. What I wanted to talk about this morning was a pretty interesting topic that you might not think that needs to be talked about, but will come up in your business, and it will come up time and time again, and it's a normal cycle of the business. So I just wanted to put it on your radar for when you see it coming or you see it happening, you know some tools and tips and tricks to get through it. So the topic I want to talk about today is knowing how to lose a client is just as important as knowing how to get clients. And I know that sounds weird because we focus so much on business building and getting clients and increasing your service and getting more revenue, but there is always the other side of the coin, and it is a normal part of business. The same way you get clients, clients will leave. And sometimes it can be prevented, sometimes it cannot. So what I want to do today is share an example with you of something that recently happened in my life, and then I'll share another example related to food and business. So when you're welcoming a client into your business and you're starting a new service with them, everyone's happy, everyone's excited, you are all positive, and you can't wait to get started. You're kind of in this honeymoon phase of the part of starting service. And as you go on as clients, that part will end. They may choose to remain a long-term client or they may leave. But when and if they choose to leave for whatever reason, you want to treat them with the same positivity, respect, and kindness that you did when you welcomed them in. Because just as I said, knowing how to lose a client is just as important as knowing how to get them. You never know who this person knows or who they could tell about their experience. We also obviously live in an age where you could post reviews of anything online that can be unverified, and this person could write a review. They can just affect your business in a really negative way if you don't do that. So recently, we decided to move our daughter's school, and we gave notice that we were going to leave. And the owner, who's also a teacher there, absolutely freaked out, and she took it so personally and went on an attack, crazy rant and rave, revenge quest on us, kind of like, how could we leave? Now, this is a school. You can leave whenever you want. It's a service. We're a client of theirs. We pay a lot of money for her to go there. And we were happy for a very long time, but for several reasons, we decided to move on. She didn't ask even why we were moving. She shamed and blamed us for moving and gave us a ton of reasons why we were making the wrong decision. And it was such a poor way to leave that experience, because for a year and a half, I would have nothing bad to say about that place. But in less than 24 hours, it completely changed 100% to where she was harassing me over text and email and kind of just making it a nightmare situation to where we could report them to an educational board. We could have contacted other parents and families. She was doing everything in text and email, so I had everything in writing. It was just such a bad ending to a positive experience. So this is the exact wrong way to handle how to lose a client. if a client does contact you and say they don't want to continue service, or they need to take a break, whatever it is, here are some tips and tricks that you can have. And this could also be in your notes for in your portfolio when you are on the phone accepting clients. You also want to have a way that you kind of release them, or when they leave, you have a process for getting information from them. Because the most important thing is you want to know why. And a lot of the reasons people give are for money. It could be scheduling. It could be their type of food preference has changed and they think that you don't do that type of food. It could be a couple of negative things that they interpreted that you did that they don't want to put up with anymore, and you want to ask what those are specifically. You also want to ask if there's anything that can be done to change their mind. Is it the portion size? Is it the food bill cost? Do less ingredients need to be organic? So think of ways that you can open up the conversation to let them tell you why they're leaving. And no matter what it is, it's fine. Don't take it personally. Don't set up any revenge or retaliation. The next part of this is I'm going to share with you a culinary client I had where I acted really poorly when they decided they want to leave, just because I was extremely offended and actually heartbroken. And it really affected, my relationship with them and really just burned the bridge. So we definitely don't want to do that. And this is something I learned the hard way. So about, I think, maybe about 5 years ago, I started working for a couple, just a man and a wife who were in their 50s and early 60s. And they were billionaires, literally. And I worked there 3 days a week, plus parties, plus special events and other stuff for about 3 years. And, even though they don't have kids and I wasn't there 24, I didn't travel with them, you still get very attached and you're a part of their lifestyle. And, he gave me a gift for my wedding that was bigger than any guest at the wedding, including my parents. So there was definitely that connection in our working relationship. And one day, seemingly out of nowhere, the house manager called me in and said that they're hiring a chef full-time to come and work 5 or more days a week, and the chef is going to travel with them, and we're not going to need you anymore. And their policy was they don't give notice. They didn't give me 2 weeks notice, but they did honor the contract we had and paid me out for 2 weeks of service in advance. So I was paid. And she just said, today's your last day, and it was a Friday. So my stuff was already packed up to leave for the Friday, and they didn't even ask me to train the other chef or talk to them or anything. It was just, we're done with you. And neither of the actual clients were there. It was just the house manager, who I obviously also knew very well. But it was so stunning, and I was so shocked that I took it so personally. And the client's daughter, who was fully grown, had a house, 10 minutes away. I was booked to cook her Christmas Eve already. And they still wanted to move through with that booking. And I was like, how can they fire me and then expect that I'm going to go work for the daughter? And I was so upset and so psycho enraged that I canceled the booking. And of course, they were extremely pissed. And the relationship was over and everything was burned. So what I didn't see at the time was keeping my calendar booked correctly, meaning I still own a business. She had a separate booking. They would have been guests at the event, but actually they were paying for it, but it doesn't matter. They still would have paid me. I was working with the daughter directly for the menu, but I just couldn't believe that they would fire me and then expect that I'm going to show up on Christmas Eve. So it really, really hurt my ego and my business. Obviously, I had a huge hole in revenue right now because they were my major big fish. But saying no to that other booking and kind of being a sore loser about it hurt so many other things in my life because it made me be so negative and so sour about it that I had trouble bringing in other clients. So what I invite you to do is just be aware of when and if this does happen to you, to take like a larger, overview of it. Take a step back. Don't reply either by email, text, or phone call at least for 24 to 48 hours because you'll be very emotional and you might make a decision or say something that you don't want to. And give yourself that time to just think about how do I really feel and what do I want to do? Because burning a bridge for any client is bad news for you. And you always want to have people walk out thinking, that was a great experience, even though I moved on. I worked for them for 3 years. All they had was positive things to say about me. And then I went and canceled a Christmas Day event, which was very important to them. So it changed the whole feeling of it. Don't let that happen to you and just kind of give yourself the time needed to process any emotions you have and don't take it out on the client. It usually has nothing to do with them. So I hope that story has helped you. Now we'll jump over to the phone line, see if anybody has questions. I have a few written in questions, but we will take a peek at the phone first. You could press *2, and I will see you pop up. Okay, so let me just read this question. This one was, hold on.